So what's going on guys, Kids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Enzo build in the first Descendant. So in this build guide I will show you what weapons and modules you want to get. Then I will explain every single skill and show you the best reactor stats and external components. And then lastly we will take a closer look at the gameplay and mods, so you would be able to get the best results and highest damage possible and much more. So then let's move over to the Enzo build. He is the best support character in the game, which not only helps others, but does really good damage as well. He specializes in providing scarce ammo to group members, and thus increasing the overall damage output of the group. He also has drones at his disposal to launch long-range attacks. It is best to focus on increasing Enzo's firearm 80k stats, since most of his builds are here to support the group. Therefore, it is very important to have good weapons to fit our setup. Our supply crate skill will refill a special and heavy ammo types, which is often hard to come by. And finally, our drone shield recovery will also help us to survive and make us a lot more tankier than most other characters in the game. So then let's take a look at the skills. The first passive skill is called the Fire Support. That gives us a fire support to allies within an area around our character. This also increases our max ammo capacity. The efficiency of this effect increases marginally with the number of Enzos in the squad, or if we disarm the security of the encrypted vault, which I will show you later in the video. Then our first active skill is called the Start Supply, which summons a bullet supplying device at the designated location. This of course will supply bullets to allies that approach the device. This device can be used once by each ally, and disappears when everyone has used it once, or the duration ends. Then the second one is the Explosive Drone, which launches an explosive drone forwards. The explosive drone explodes on contact with the enemy or a terrain object, which deals bunch of damage. Then the next one is Enhanced Combat Suit, that summons a Shield Recovery Comms. When the Shield Recovery Comms is first summoned, it recovers Enzo's energy shield by a certain amount, and then it continues to recover the energy shield through the Enhanced Combat Suit effect. And finally we have the Perfect Support, which summons a small supply ship to yourself and allies. This ship periodically provides you supply bullets and grants perfect support to allies. The small supply ship attacks enemies in front of you while it's active, and when the skill ends, it will fire a missile forwards that causes a big explosion at its destination. Then now let's take a look at our build modules. Your module capacity cost limits how many modules you can equip, and they can be upgraded as you level up your character. Different modules have different capacity costs, which generally depend on how powerful the module is. This is a balancing system to prevent players from only equipping the strongest modules and having a totally overpowered character. But it's important to know that when equipping modules on this character, make sure that as many ones as possible are in a slot with a matching icon. This will give you 50% discount on the module capacity cost. So here we have the best modules for your leveling build. You should be able to get this leveling setup by approximately level 25 to 30. This is a good base setup to have before preparing to farm the max level setup. So we want to get the increased HP, which significantly increases your max HP. Then Non-Attribute Specialist, that boosts the power of your non-attribute skills. Then Increased Defense, that significantly increases your defenses. Then Short Sword, which changes your sub-attack to a short sword and improves your max module capacity. Then Skill Cost Optimize, that reduces your skill cooldowns and slightly reduces the skill cost. Then Nimble Fingers, that reduces your skill cooldowns. And finally the Non-Attribute Master, that significantly increases your skill power, with a additional increase to the non-attribute power. And just before we move on to the endgame setup, let me quickly explain why are some skill modules empty, like here for example. So basically, the slot modifies our skills, but the problem is that all the modified variants are worse for our build than the original. Therefore, we leave the slot empty, because there's not a single modifier in that slot, which could help our build. So it doesn't really matter what we do in that empty space. And after that is done, now we are ready for our max level module setup. So for the endgame build, I recommend to use the Reinforced Frontline, that spawns a frontline reinforcement device that grants a firearm 80k increase to allies in range. then skill extension, which increases your skill duration, then skill expansion, that increases our skill range, then skill cost optimize, that reduces the skill cooldowns and cost, then range HP calculator, that increases the skill range and max HP, then non-attribute master, that increases the skill power modifier and non-attribute power modifier, then dual claw, that changes to a sub attack and increases max module capacity, then HP concentration, that increases max HP and skill critical hit rate, then nimble fingers, that reduces your skill cooldowns, then increase shields, that increases our shield size, and finally the technician, that increases our skill power modifier. So then finally, let's take a look at the best weapons and stats that we should use. So for our build, the Thunder Cage submachine gun is the ultimate weapon. This firearm emits an electric shockwave that creates the appearance of thunder being directed at the enemy. When defeating an enemy, the defeated enemy has a set chance to discharge electricity shockwave that deals additional damage to the nearby enemies. This is a very high DPS weapon with a quick fire rate, which will help to boost our damage even higher. And then for our weapon mods, here are the best ones, like the Hawkeye, Reload Concentration, Rifling Reinforcement, Concentrate Support Ammo, Electric Conductor, Action and Reaction, Marksman, Weak Point Control, Weak Point Sight, and Fire Rate Up. Then second of all, the Nazestra's Devotion Hand Cannon is a great secondary weapon. It works especially well if you're good at aiming and are confident at hitting enemy weak points. Hitting an enemy's weak point with the Nazestra's Devotion reduces their defense by 30% for 3 seconds, indirectly buffing the damage of all of your attacks. And lastly, another great secondary weapon that can help to buff our damage if you hit the enemy weak points is the Afterglow Sword Sniper Rifle. By hitting an enemy's weak point, it will inflict death propagation, which will improve the weak point damage by 5% per stack. You can also get extra critical hit rate when hitting commanders and other elite enemies with this weapon. And then last but not the least, we need to quickly look into the best reactor stats. So your reactor is a very important item that determines your skill damage and can also include extra modifiers that buff certain aspects of your build. The better your reactor is, the more damage your skills will deal to enemies. The best reactor for Enzo is the Materialized Singularity, because it boosts the non-attribute skills, specifically the Start Supply and Perfect Support. Then the second one is the Materialized Phase, which boosts a non-attribute and dimension. This will increase the number of explosive drones and enhance combat suits. The priority is to buff non-attribute skills first, then either the singular or dimension based on support or damage. Lastly, make sure to equip the right weapon to activate the bonuses. So in our case, it is the Scout Rifle. And finally, we have the external components. With the external components, you will be somewhat subject to RNG, at least until you've played the game for long enough to find basically every single possible combination with a good stat roll. For this build, I generally recommend to get components with stats in max shields, max HP, HP recovery and defense. And that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy. Peace.